Hello and welcome to a special edition of The Buck Stops Here. Today's a big day because today marks the formal kickoff of the greatest show on earth, the Indian election. 814 million people eligible to go out and vote. And now we know the schedule. We now know the dates on which all of those people are going to go out to vote. And we do know that 72 days from now, on the 16th of May, we'll have some idea as to who is going to be forming the next government. But in all probability, we'll have some sort of an idea on that. And also, this is being called one of the most decisive elections, perhaps one of the most landmark elections that India has had in a long time. So over the next hour or so, we are going to take a look at what the real stakes are in these elections. We're going to look at a series of scenarios that are the possible outcomes of elections 2014, and we're going to see what the impact of each of them potentially could be. But today is also a day when the Model Code of Conduct finally kicked in, and today was a far, far from model day when it comes to politics. Look at those pictures. That's what we had on day one of the greatest show on earth. We had, well, I don't know what to call them, riots or clashes or gundagardi or mobocracy or all of the above. You take your picks. But we essentially had, it started off in Gujarat after Arvind Kejriwal was detained for a short period of time. And then you had those, well, I don't know what to call them, those scenes of Aam Aadmi Party supporters surrounding and gheraiing the BJP headquarters out there. And then we had stone throwing. We had people throwing chairs from inside. We had rocks being thrown from outside. Then we had these lovely scenes, for lack of a better word, or and disgraceful actually is what I really mean. I'm being sarcastic just in case you weren't being quite sure. And you had those shocking scenes in Lucknow where you had workers being beaten up. So really it was a pretty awful day as a kickoff to the greatest show on earth. So that's sadly where we are at. So let me just start by introducing all the guests that I have, because there's lots to talk about. And yes, we are going to spend some time discussing those disgraceful scenes on today. And we're going to find out what can actually be done about it. So let me just welcome our guest. Abhishek Singh is joining us from the Congress Party. Ravi Shankar Prasad from the BJP. Ravi, we're going to be discussing both the bigger picture and the sscenarios and what could happen, and also the shocking scenes that we actually did see today. D. Raja is joining us from the Communist Party of India. We have Gardner Harris right here, who's the South Asia correspondent to the New York Times. There'll be a lot of international interest, I'm sure, in the elections, and I'm not sure what everyone's going to make of what we saw on day one. NDTV's own Dural Sapariwala is going to take us through the map and tell us exactly what's happening out here. And in just a couple of minutes, the Aam Aadmi Party is planning a press conference right now on the violence. So as soon as we can, we're going to get somebody seated from the Aam Aadmi Party specifically to discuss the violence and also the scenarios. And Derek O'Brien from the Trinamool Congress also is going to be joining us in a couple of minutes. But before we go to the violence of the day, let's just come back to the big picture. What's going to be happening in the election? Let's just take you through the phase-by-phase maps, if you like, of what is going to be happening. The elections are going to kick off on the 9th of April. It's a 9-phase election. So this is what's going to happen on the 7th of April. 6 parliamentary constituencies are actually going to vote. And those are the areas. It's basically in the northeast of India. That's going to be on the 9th of April. Next day is, that's on the 9th of April. That's what's going to be happening. Next day, which is coming up right now on your screen, let me just go on reading it off, is on the next day, which is the 10th of April. This is a big day, and this is particularly going to be a crucial day from the security point of view, because you can see most of the Naxalite affected areas are actually going to be polling on the 10th. So 92 constituencies, including Delhi, Haryana, areas like that, but all the Naxal areas and Kerala is going to be going to the polls that day. 12th, a relatively light day. Some parts of the northeast, Sikkim in particular, is going to be voting. Next big day is going to be on the 17th, 122 parliamentary constituencies, including Rajasthan, Karnataka, parts of Madhya Pradesh, of Maharashtra. All of these are going to be seeing voting. Rohilkhand also in Uttar Pradesh. So this is going to be a really significant day. And the next day is again going to be really significant, which is on the 24th of April, when 177 parliamentary constituencies are actually going to go to the polls. And this includes, again, parts of Madhya Pradesh. It's going to include parts of the whole of Tamil Nadu actually is going to be polling there, and parts of West Bengal. So that's another really critical day, 177 parliamentary constituencies. One of the most interesting days could be the next one, which is the 30th of April, because this is the day that Gujarat is going to be voting, and seeing as in Gujarat they're going to be voting for the person, one of their own, to perhaps be the Prime Minister of India. There's going to be a lot of interest. And Telangana. What is going to happen in Telangana, we will find out on the 30th of April. Punjab also going to the polls. And then we're going to be moving on to 64 seats that are going to be polling on the 7th of May, including the Simandra area of Andhra Pradesh. So that's another interesting day, Uttarakhand and other parts as well. And we're going to wrap it all off on the 12th of May. And finally, 16th is the day that we are going to know who will be forming the next government. Before I come to any of the rest of you, Durat, can I quickly get you anything which you make from that particular map and the phases, any big signals, any interesting days that you'd like us to look at?
I don't think there are any interesting days, except that you ask yourself, frankly, it's only 6 phases. 3 phases are very small. Why is it that states like Bihar and UP are on all 6 days? Bihar has 40 seats, Tamil Nadu has 39 seats. Tamil Nadu goes on 1 day.
Right.
Bengal has 42 seats, goes on 5 days. I think the politicians should ask themselves, why is it that they require so many days? I mean, the Tamil Nadu politics is no gentler than the UP politics or Bihar politics or Bengal politics. Right. But obviously, there's a certain amount of discipline. So the Election Commission feels reassured that, it doesn't need the kind of clout and force and troops.
Okay, so
I think it's mainly
the gentleness of the entire election process, of course, I guess today is a really bad day to talk about any gentle political process, especially after what we saw, and we're going to come to it. But let me now come to the big theme that I had, and I'm going to start with you, Ravi Shankar Prasad. We're hearing many people saying that this is perhaps one of the most landmark and one of the most significant elections that India has had in a long time, and that's also partly because we have some very interesting and unusual big players out here. Narendra Modi, of course, from the BJP. It's a presidential election, perhaps for the first time that we've seen it in a long time. We have a very interesting personality like Arvind Kejriwal who's come into the field. What will happen in that? Do you agree with me when I say that this is a landmark and a perhaps one of the most interesting election campaigns? Ravi Shankar Prasad?
Well, Vikram, I am following elections in India from 1977 very closely. When I was a young student activist in the JP movement of Bihar, fighting against the emergency, going to jail, and thereafter the change in India. The yearning for change which I am noticing now, I can only recall, if I can say about comparison, was of 1977. How it will pan out, the people will decide. But I see a very overpowering urge for change, and coupled for addition of 10 crore voters, mostly young, is going to give an all new dimension. And as I said in my opening comment today in the morning when your people came to me, the date of election were not being expected by the political parties, but more by the people of India. Therefore, in that way, this election is going to be a very defining election, where I see a very profound urge and yearning for change in the way India has been governed in the last so many years.
Can I ask you, Abhishek Singhvi, the yearning for change, it's really, I'll tell you another way in which it's a really interesting election. Here you have a situation, you're heading for an election, and today, if you look at the headlines, you look at people talking about the possibilities after the elections, you look at the scenarios that we're going to come to a short while from now, hardly anybody seems to be talking about the Congress party or even the possibility that the Congress party is going to be back a few 72 days from now. That, in a sense, underlines what Ravi Shankar Prasad is talking about when he says there seems to be a yearning for change.
Well, that depends on who you are talking to, Vikram. And who somebody else is talking
I have to say.
I think, yes, obviously your coverage can't be large enough for even a microscopic microcosm of India. And that is the cardinal sin a large number of people make about Indian politics. I don't want to rewind decades. I want to rewind to 2 elections. And I say it seriously because in 2004, when the assembly results came in 2003, we had exactly the same despondent, bleak outlook. There was despondency even in the Congress ranks, and I remember sitting in the Congress office and we're trying to total up seats. And then there was this absolute one-sided view, and this is what is happening. I think this defining moment of this election is that never before have I seen in the media or out of the media so much hype about one person and one result. Now, Indian political history has a nasty habit of shocking you out of foregone conclusions. That happened exactly in 2004. Today it might seem distant. But again, more importantly, it happened in 2009. According to me, and I've been a close watcher, if you see the snippets on your television itself, Vikram, Mr. Advani was projected exactly the same way as a prime ministerial candidate. Today the memory is dimmed. But Mr. Advani, it was made into a presidential individual contest. And the same hype was there. And you know the results in these two elections. Now, I am not saying that these are identical elections. But what I am saying is that this hype and this repetitive, self-congratulatory backslapping on yourself, that we are there minus all over except the bar, the shouting. This is something which is A, very presumptuous, B, very, very insulting to the Indian electorate, and thirdly and most importantly, Vikram, it completely ignores the diversity of India.
Okay, fair enough.
Opinion
I'm coming to the scenarios.
And India, diversity makes all the difference in the results, region-wise, state-wise, sector-wise.
Right. We'll know in 72 days, won't we, whether you're right or whether you're wrong. Now, can I just come to you, Mr. Harris? Is it an election that people are really, internationally, is there a lot of attention focused on this because of what it could mean? Because there's certain concerns around India, but also what this election will throw up is potentially could lead to all sorts of very strange and very diverse scenarios. How much interest is there going to be in the next 72 days?
Yeah, I think there's huge interest internationally. I mean, the India story obviously has fallen off the front pages a little bit because India's growth is no longer what it once was. And I think that there is...
So despite political parties beating each other up on the streets of Delhi and Lucknow as they did today, it's still not making the headlines.
Well, it's not with what's going on in Ukraine right now. I mean, I am not getting on the...
That.
Yeah, it's tough to beat that. But, I mean, just to sort of respond a little bit, I mean, if the Congress party wins this election, I'll eat my shorts. I mean, I think that polling has improved a lot over the last 10 years. I think that there are some really interesting storylines in India. What's going to happen to the Gandhi political dynasty? There is this sense that this could be their worst moment in all of their history. Are they going to recover? Does Rahul even want to recover? There's sort of a question about really whether he wants this job or not. And so I think that there's always great interest around India, and I think these particular storylines will have a lot of resonance across the world.
I'm going to start off by rattling through the scenarios very, very quickly. But Mr. Raja, let me just get you in on how critical you think this election is, and then I'm going to start with the first of my scenarios, which may well unfold on the 16th of May 2014. But first of all, Mr. Raja, how critical is this election?
Definitely, the elections to the 16th Lok Sabha are very crucial, very critical for the future of our nation. People want change, but that change is not one which Mr. Ravi Shankar Prasad decides or BJP decides. People want a real change, a genuine change. The Congress-led UPA 2 government is leaving behind the nation in deep crisis. It is not just an economic crisis, it is political crisis, it is social crisis, above all it is moral crisis. And BJP doesn't provide an alternative. And in fact, BJP can substitute Congress, but not an alternative. That is where I think the country needs a real alternative to both Congress and BJP. People are looking for such an alternative.
All right, we'll again know whether people are looking.
I look at these elections.
All right, fair enough. Let me start with the first of my scenarios. And Mr. Ravi Shankar Prasad, frankly, this is the scenario that I think, as with even Mr. Singh was referring to, is the possibility that most people think is the most likely, that it is going to be the Modi election. You're going to have Narendra Modi coming in there, if not getting, he probably may not get an absolute majority, but with the NDA, with allies, you're going to have Narendra Modi there on the 16th of May in a position where he is going to form a government. Now, what is the impact of that going to be on India? That's the question that I think we can try and spend some time addressing. There are pros. He is decisive government, good administrator. India Inc. will be very happy. Stock market will probably jump internationally. There will be, business confidence may well go up. But there are cons as well. There are people who worry about what Narendra Modi would mean for India. They point to the fact that he could be dictatorial. He's got an authoritative streak. What is that going to mean? Are we going to be an intolerant country? Are we going to be a non-secular country? Is freedom of speech or of religion going to be curtailed in some manner? So, Ravi Shankar Prasad, if that is a scenario that works itself out, what do you think the impact is going to be on India, to your mind?
First of all, Vikram, you have been grossly unfair to Mr. Narendra Modi.
I said he's most probably likely going to become the next Prime Minister. How's that being unfair to him?
No, the way you described his qualities and also good qualities, quote unquote. Today, Muslims in Gujarat are the best growth rate in India. Let us take that. Even Sachar Commission confirmed that. And the gentleman in your panel talked about the growth rate. When Mr. Vajpayee came to power in 1998, India's growth rate was 4.8%. And when he demitted office in 2004 May, the growth rate was 8.5%. And in between, Kargil happened, attack on parliament happened, sanction post Pokhran 2 happened, big earthquake in Gujarat happened, and the big 2002 drought happened. We never cribbed about international factor. We came to power, we governed, delivered a growth rate. Now today it is 4.7% under an economist prime minister. India is yearning for change.
What happened in the India under Mr. Atal Bihari Vajpayee, I'm just trying to understand what the impact of Prime Minister Narendra Modi would be on India 3 years or 4 years later. Would there be a big change or would there not?
Allow me to complete my point.
Okay.
I'm only saying when the country's growth rate is 4.7%, why is it that states like Gujarat, like Chhattisgarh, like Madhya Pradesh, Goa are notching 10-11% growth rate? Narendra Modi represents what? Decisive leadership is one part. Integrity, capacity to take decision, and most of all, the way Manmohan Singh, Sonia Gandhi, Rahul Gandhi combined have governed India in the last 10 years, from policy paralysis to stinking corruption. I thought, Vikram, today election was approaching. Till yesterday, day before, we had so many corruption, from Rolls-Royce engine scheme to the whole battery scam of the submarines to other things. And Rahul Gandhi is quiet, completely quiet. The people are really yearning for change.
No, okay.
So
your take on scenario, Modi, is that it will be a decisive government. But what about the concerns that I expressed? I'm just expressing the concerns that people have, that he'll be authoritative.
Yes, the concern is Muslims are happy in Gujarat, and Mr. Modi represents an inclusive figure also in terms of governance.
Right.
If there is energy is available in the villages of entire Gujarat, they are available for all.
Okay.
If there is facilities available for all. Okay. Therefore, yes, I know there is something called historical baggage. I don't deny people to have that claim, but the people of the country are rejecting it again and again, and I'm sure at the national level also they will reject.
Okay. Scenario one, a Modi election where he storms in. So, Abhishek Singhvi, if that scenario is to unfold, what do you think the impact will be on India?
Well, 2 or 3 aspects, Vikram. First of all, I heard with interest the soliloquy of Mr. Ravi Shankar Prasad about growth in figures. I have with me published official Government of India Planning Commission figures, which I demonstrate and challenge anybody.
Mr. Singhvi, I beg you, let's not go into that routine stuff about whether Gujarat grew or not grew. I'm just asking you, what do you think a Prime Minister Modi is going to mean?
1 minute. The moment I start challenging Mr. Ravi Shankar Prasad's fake encounter with facts, he intervened before my first sentence is over.
I intervened, he didn't.
So let me just be calm. Please hold your peace. Yeah, please hold your peace. You've given him time, give me less than a minute. So point number 1, on parameter of annual growth, overall growth, savings rate, investment rate, highways, electricity capacity addition, electricity annual addition, to capacity, and also generation. 6 other parameters.
Okay.
UPA 1 is far superior to NDA.
Debate on this
and
issue one
UPA
day.
2.
I challenge
one second, don't interrupt me.
1 hour, 1 to 1
I am challenging you already with the facts.
Okay.
I am prepared now. UPA 2
Come on,
is ahead of NDA also. So UPA 2 is less than UPA 1.
In 2004,
I will give you the figures.
Some praise.
Please, let's not talk. No, don't interrupt me. You see, you are able to get away with it because you don't talk facts.
No, I'm not
I am
able to get away.
Here and now, after 2 minutes,
have a debate 1 to 1.
Challenge you and debate with you on the 12 parameters.
And I will challenge all your reports based upon independent, verifiable, including by NDTV records. I'll show that.
On 12 parameters,
I've heard this debate so many times, but now I can repeat what each of you is going to say almost verbatim.
So,
Mr. Prasad can't get away.
Congress colored report.
Mr. Prasad can't get away with. See,
no, I will not get away.
Does this,
I'm only
I'm going to interrupt this, please, gentlemen.
Then he interrupts me.
One day.
That is a sure sign of a guilty person because he knows the facts will not
Not
suit
the
him.
least.
And I am prepared to debate that with you.
I thought you will have some
Number
independent
two,
report.
As far as Mr. Modi is concerned,
report of Manmohan
let's
Singh and
not-
Montek Singh, you are claiming and you want
As
me to
far
accept
as-
it. No. It is a fake encounter with facts.
Well,
Your words.
you can go black and blue in the face denying Planning Commission published figures, but the government of India is India, and they
It's
go by
still
these
not-
figures globally.
Planning
in
Commission
India.
is playing politics.
Gentlemen, I'm not sure we are getting
Planning
anywhere with this. I mean,
Commission
this is
giving
really
wrong figures
entertaining, but we're
of
not getting
state
anywhere with this. I'm
development.
trying to
Did I
ask
interrupt?
Abhishek Singh,
Did I-
your take on what Prime Minister
no.
Modi, if that is what happens, would mean for India.
Did
Just
I-
as what I'm asking you.
Vikram,
What does
did
historical
I
growth rates have to do with
did
that?
I-
What does
did
that
I-
do?
did
I'm
I
asking you, what do you
interrupt
think the
Mr.
impact will be on
Prasad even
India?
once? It's
Yeah.
a sure sign of a guilty mind if he interrupts me. And I'll tell you the figures
I'm
later.
interrupting you. He's not interrupting you. I'm asking you what this means for
Abhishek,
the...
I'm only
Second
challenging
point.
you for a good
You
debate.
allowed him
I'm
to
going to
interrupt
pause
me now.
both of you now.
Yeah,
Just on that
no,
note,
no.
Mr. Harris, let me come to you.
You're
I'm going to
planning
pause
now.
both of them. I'm going to pause both of them. What do you think a Prime Minister Modi would mean to India? What's the international community expecting? Decisive, firm, efficient, good administrator? Is that what they're looking at? Or the other aspects of it? Potentially authoritative. What does that mean for Indian democracy? Those questions. What are people saying? Because I see in the international press refers to both.
Right. Well, first and foremost, he's going to be a very interesting figure on the international stage. I mean, Manmohan Singh is barely a blip on the international stage. He is so quiet. You can barely hear him speak. He sort of shuffles into rooms. Modi is going to control the room when he comes in with foreign figures. He is going to, I think, bring some dynamism to India's foreign policy relations that hasn't been there for a long time. I think it's also, to me, this argument that goes on sort of demonstrates just how bad the Congress party is doing. He is having an argument on economics. The economics are terrible. He should be, what you do always when you're in the incumbent is you should dirty up the challenger, and they should be hammering Modi badly, and it's extraordinary that the polls
actually,
show.
right now, I'm not very sure who the challenger is, because if you look at what the polls are saying and the way public perception is, it's almost as if Narendra Modi is a shoo-in for being the Prime Minister right now.
I think
Everyone
that's
else
true.
seems the
I mean,
challenger.
he's sort of the only.
Everyone
he's
else
only-
seems the challenger right now. Narendra Modi.
No, but I mean, the Congress Party should be trying to dirty him. And one of the really extraordinary things I think about the polling right now is that Narendra Modi's negatives are very, very low. Here's a man who is among the most controversial politicians in Indian history, and nobody thinks poorly of him. And the Congress isn't bringing up all the potential negatives that they should. They should be hammering that, and they're not. And I think that sort of demonstrates that they're just sort of at the end of their rope. But I think, to answer your question, internationally, I think there is concern about Modi. Obviously, the United States has only just recently opened conversations with him. But I think there is also hope that things will change.
Okay. Ravi Shankar Prasad, you want to respond to that? So let's move away from the economics of it. Do you want to respond to what Mr. Harris just said?
Yes. No, let me respond to Mr. Harris. Yes, there have been international campaign against Mr. Modi. Motivated campaign. People who maintain a conspicuous silence on what happened in Muzaffarnagar and UP have been campaigning internationally in spite of exoneration. But now, how the world is recognizing Mr. Modi as an emerging leader in a democratic India with his humble background is a great testimony of the success of Indian democracy. Surely, it will come with the blessings of the people. But what is important, Vikram, for any significant observer to observe that the campaign against Mr. Modi is not a new phenomenon. It is going for the last 12 years. It is going in the media, it is going in the court, it is going in public space, it is going with a sponsored coalition against Mr. Modi world over. Okay. Yet, the people have not believed it. That is very significant. And with all this, Mr. Modi has emerged stronger. If the people bless, the world power are going to engage with him, they should engage with him. I think what is important is that the rise of Mr. Modi and the acceptance of Mr. Modi, and I disagree with Mr. Harris, Congress has not spared anything. Even the Dirty Deeds Department was thought to be made active, and it is unique that no judge agreed to preside over the last commission of inquiry. They failed very badly. In spite of all this, if people have seen to the game, that is indeed a great testimony to the success of Narendra Modi's leadership quality, which the people have come to believe.
Okay, Abhishek, before I come to you, I just want to come to scenario 2, because I mean we're running short of scenarios. So let me just say to scenario 2, and here's an example of one particular factor that perhaps is getting a lot more headlines than you may have argued that it could because of the number of potential seats that they could get, but they are certainly very much on the headline, and that's the Kejriwal factor. And Kejriwal factor is constantly and constantly and constantly in the news headlines. So will Mr. Arvind Kejriwal play a major role? Now, whatever he's done, it's outsider, it's out of the box politics. Those are some of the pros. The Aam Aadmi factor, is that something which is going to play itself out? But on the con side, on the negative side, I guess you could always question, first of all, how many seats is Mr. Kejriwal possibly going to get? And then there are going to be these concerns about inexperienced, agitationist approach, somewhat outlandish. And I'm just going to play those pictures again. What happened today, to some extent, do underline that as well. So can I just ask all of you, and then I'm going to get the Aam Aadmi Party to come in on this also, while again playing some of the pictures that we were seeing. Is Mr. Kejriwal going to be playing a major factor in India, in Indian politics at the national level after May? Or is it something which is going to be great for headlines throughout the next 72 days? We're going to have lots of pictures like this for 72 days. But at the end of the day, with 15, 20, maybe 30 seats, it's not going to make a major difference. Who wants to go first on this? Ravi Shankar Prasad, the Arvind Kejriwal factor. And what do you make of what happened today, by the way? Today we saw some really disgraceful scenes, I have to say, both from the Aam Aadmi Party and also from the BJP.
Well, let me tell you that I was one of the first to congratulate Aam Aadmi Party when they emerged as good political players on the scene. But the way we'll talk about the merits separately, but today what has happened is really regrettable. Today, when Mr. Kejriwal was going to Radhanpur, the model code of conduct has come into being. The police came under the control of the election commission. You know that. They only took him to have you got the permission for 20 minutes and made a big issue. Today at the BJP national office, when model code of conduct is there, did they take the permission of election commission? With the tricolor, they go to the BJP office, attack it, tear away the posters and the banners of the hoardings. And Mr. Rajmohan Gandhi, the great intellectual, is saying it was like Chauri Chaura. They had no permission. And Vikram, I would like to highlight this very important. Mr. Kejriwal has been an income tax officer. Income tax officer go on election duty for the last so many years. He knows the implication of model code of conduct. In Chhattisgarh, I was campaigning. I was only given 5 minutes by the government, which is under BJP, because my time was up. This is how they enforce. Okay, but if there the police enforce.
But okay, sir, Ravi Shankar Prasad, I'm going to get the Aam Aadmi Party, but also, okay, so let me get Atushi on, who's from the Aam Aadmi Party. Atushi, we're looking at the scenario of what possibly the role that Mr. Kejriwal could play. But first of all, today's actions. There are people who feel that the Aam Aadmi Party is also just pushing the envelope further and further towards mob rule, because it's one of the ways of constantly getting headlines. Are the headlines somewhat out of proportion with the seats that the Aam Aadmi Party is going to be getting? And how do you justify what happened today? Just look at those pictures.
First of all, let me tell you that far from seeking headlines, and I'm absolutely shocked at what my colleague from the BJP is saying, I think there needs to be a strong condemnation of BJP's actions. Number one, for what happened in Gujarat, where someone of Arvind Kejriwal's stature was stopped, supposedly for preventing there being a traffic jam, which is what the police finally said. Number two, what happened in Delhi today was clearly a case of there was a peaceful protest being carried on by our protesters, and you can actually see the footage where stones, bricks, huge bricks,
peaceful protest. We've seen pictures of the Aam Aadmi Party throwing rocks inside there. Is that peaceful? It's a peaceful use of rocks. It's like a peaceful nuclear explosion.
Let me complete what I'm saying. You should see the state on which our volunteers are in. Mr. Nalin Kohli, who's a spokesperson of the BJP, came out of the BJP office with a stick in his hand and attacked our volunteers, one of whom is in the ICU in RML hospital. Therefore, I find it extremely surprising that the BJP is saying that, oh, these people don't follow the model code of conduct. Sir, what is it that you're talking about? In Lucknow today, there has been a brutal assault by BJP volunteers and the Aam Aadmi Party volunteers. Have you even seen the video?
We are showing the video as we speak. Ravi Shankar Prasad, so, you know,
Vikram, one quick point, Vikram.
How do you take some of the pictures from Lucknow?
I don't want to engage the representative, but one simple thing. Congress workers have always protested on the BJP office and vice versa. Have there been any scuffle at all? Today, when they came to under our office under leadership of Rajmohan Gandhi and Asutosh, had they taken permission of Election Commission to protest when model code of conduct has come into being? Why did not the police stop them away from the BJP office?
But what happened in Lucknow, Ravi Shankar
How
Prasad?
they entered the gates?
What happened in Lucknow?
In Lucknow also they did the same thing. Yes, in Lucknow
also,
their workers.
Mr. Nalin Kohli to attack
Madam, will you keep quiet? Madam, will you keep quiet? Madam, I did not interrupt you. The same way in Lucknow also they entered in the BJP office without permission. I'm sorry, it is regrettable. And if persons like, the charge against Nalin Kohli is completely baseless.
Okay.
The point I'm only saying, you have seen today how they started throwing stones, barged inside the BJP office with Rajmohan Gandhi and Asutosh standing there, not even trying to stop them. The most irresponsible behavior. In politics, difference is there.
Okay, can I just get the others to comment on this? Abhishek Singhvi, D. Raja, what do you make of the Aam Aadmi Party phenomenon in general? What sort of impact is it going to have, and how do you react to what happened today? Oh, Derek Bryan is also joining us. I'm going to ask him as well. Let me start with you, Abhishek Singhvi. Very briefly, what do you make of what's happening with the Aam Aadmi Party and the sort of agitational mob politics, some could call it, that we've been seeing rolling out on the streets on day one of these great...
The way their chief minister behaved before the Rail Bhavan is well known. Okay.
Abhishek Singhvi, very quickly, then I'm going to come to the others.
I'm glad that you are giving the Congress at least 50% of the time that you are giving Mr. Ravi Shankar Prasad. Let me see if I can make my point in 50% of the time. First of all, I want to make the point about Mr. Modi. His myths and tall claims have been exploded from the time he claimed a gas fine. I'm coming to Aam Aadmi in a minute. From when he claimed a gas fine, which was 100 times more than it turned out. The figures on Gujarat's growth rate show that Delhi, Haryana, Maharashtra,
election of
all are
Gujarat
ahead.
is over, Abhishek.
So this
the same
is the
thing
myth.
Again.
This is the myth.
I will have to interrupt you again.
This is the myth of Mr. Modi,
okay.
who believes, in projection and hype.
Okay, we move to
as far as Kejriwal is concerned, the facts, one very important fact, Mr. Ravi Shankar Prasad is obviously conveniently omitted. The finding and the report of the collector of Gujarat itself, who is under election commission, is that there was no violation of the model code of conduct. That's the fatal fact which has to be noted as far as the conduct in Gujarat was concerned in obstructing or stopping him, because the collector's report to the election commission is that there was no violation of the model code of conduct.
Okay.
Number 3, if there is a fracas like this at the BJP office here in Lucknow, I think it's highly regrettable on both sides. Who is exactly at fault is difficult to say, but certainly the scenes on your television camera show that there was apparently a thrashing in Lucknow by BJP workers of Aam Aadmi protesters who were not really attacking the Lucknow office. That's what I'm talking on what is seen in camera.
All right, Derek O'Brien.
So I think these are facts to be seen.
Okay, Derek O'Brien and then D. Raja. Derek O'Brien, you're no stranger to agitational politics. What do you make of somebody who seems to be, well, certainly out Trinamool Congressing the Trinamool?
Sorry, Vikram, you'll have to repeat that.
I'm just asking you, what do you make of the Arvind Kejriwal phenomenon and sort of scenes that we've been seeing today on the streets of Delhi, Lucknow, take your pick?
Right. I think whether it was Lucknow, whether it was Delhi, whether it was Ahmedabad, this is the first day, first show of this carnival of democracy, and unfortunately it left a bad taste in the mouth. But today, in contrast, there is also some optimism, and you'll pardon me if I'm wearing a halo today, because in Bengal, even though the Trinamool and the left are diametrically and so opposed to each other, within 1 hour, both the Trinamool and the left announced their candidates, and today Bengal was a great example of how this carnival of democracy should be played out. So my humble appeal, without wearing a halo, to all the parties across the country is to follow the lead in Bengal. What happened today, depending on which side of the story you hear, you will hear different spins. But I think we can have our own differences. We can have our different views.
Okay.
But we don't need to spoil this carnival of democracy.
Okay. Let me get D. Raja in on that note. So, Mr. Raja, yes, I think that point is well taken, because we've often seen left cadre and Trinamool cadre, engaged in clashes. Today was really peaceful in Bengal, and that hopefully is the way it should be. How did you? What would be the advice that you would be giving to Mr. Kejriwal and others on a day like today?
I strongly disapprove and deplore that people going and demonstrating in front of party offices or in front of residences of political leaders. Political battles will have to be fought as political battles. And this is not the way Even we have party headquarters in Delhi. If some people come and attack the party office, we cannot justify that. That's why these incidents should have been avoided. No political party should engage such protests in front of other political party offices or residences. Having said that, I must point out that Mr. Kejriwal is a new phenomenon in Indian politics. Earlier days, we could see such phenomena in European countries, particularly in Western Europe. Now we are seeing such a phenomena in India. But ours is a democracy, and finally what role he is going to play at national level will have to be seen. The number of seats he is going to win, because after all democracy means number also. How many number of seats you have in Lok Sabha?
All right, fair enough. So let me just come back to let me come back therefore to the question number. Let me just go through the two remaining scenarios perhaps that could possibly play themselves out in the next 72 days. We looked at the possibility that it's going to be a Narendra Modi election. We looked at the possibility that maybe Kejriwal will end up being a major factor. Here are two other scenarios. One is the third front scenario that has often been spoken about, which is nobody can really come and get themselves established, and it's going to be a motley crowd of the third front, or the federal front, or the third front, or regional parties. They're going to get a large number of seats, and they're going to be able to put together some sort of an anti-Congress, anti-BJP alternative. In all probability, they may have to take support from the outside by one or the other. It does give a different alternative. The cons which people will point to is the fact that it's going to have no clear ideological fulcrum, and there'll be too many PM aspirants, and that there could be instability. So this is one more scenario. I'm going to get everyone to talk on these final two scenarios. Now, very interestingly, as I started by saying, is that it's a bit unusual that with 72 days to go for the election, the fourth scenario that the Congress party itself could be playing a major role is something that very few people are talking about, and that would be scenario 4, what happens possibly with the Congress party. It would be, at this moment, from the opinion polls that to be believed, a real miracle if the Congress party is able to battle anti-incumbency and somehow have some sort of a phoenix act and be anywhere close to forming a government, or possibly backing a third front government. There's a worse alternative that some people are talking about when it comes to the Congress party, which is actually that it could be one of the lowest numbers, and therefore its future itself could come into some sort of a question. So two more scenarios that I've thrown up. I'm going to get everyone to very quickly react to them. Abhishek Singhvi, let me start off with you on the Congress scenarios. Does anybody in the Congress party really think that you've got a chance of forming a government again, or is it more, would you be supporting somebody from outside, or what will happen with the third front or Kejriwal, and get Mr. Modi down a bit and prop somebody else up? Is that the thinking?
I think I'd be less than honest or hypocritical if I said that we are thinking of forming a government of our own. Certainly not, I'm not saying that. But yes, a government with the Congress playing a role is a very likely probability. In what manner, with what combination, are also, I think the contours are broadly emerging, but I'm not able to disclose or discuss with you on television. But to suggest that the Congress would not be playing a role either in the Congress mold along with others, or the others along with the Congress, and that's a matter of detail, I think that is living really in a fool's paradise.
Okay. Contours are emerging. You don't seem to have a single ally. I mean, your existing allies, a lot of them seem to be moving away, so I'm not sure where the contours are. But yes, there are possibilities. Let me come to some of the others. So various possibilities thrown up, and frankly, in the Kejriwal factor, it's not that he's going to be forming a government by himself. I don't think even the Aam Aadmi Party would believe that. Anusuya, do you believe that? What is the Aam Aadmi Party aiming for? Can I just, Atishi, I beg your pardon. Atishi, what is the Aam Aadmi Party actually aiming for? Surely you don't think you're going to be forming a government. So is it really about getting a certain 20, 30 seats where you then play a role in one of the other scenarios? What's your game plan?
Actually, I think we don't plan to have game plans in the way that other parties have game plans in terms of 20 seats, 30 seats. For us, this is clearly a political movement. This is a political movement against corruption. This is a political movement against communalism. And this is a movement, this is a battle that we are going to keep on fighting. And yes, elections is one part of it. And interestingly, I think incidents today have actually shown that the need for a political movement is extremely strong. And if some of the scenarios that you're talking about,
I'm alarmed to hear you saying that the incidents of today show that you need a new political movement.
Let me complete what I'm saying. If some of the scenarios that you're talking about the BJP coming to power actually come true, then the sort of repression and the sort of violence that can potentially be unleashed against any form of dissidence is actually a serious matter of concern. What you have seen today is the first attempt that there is an attempt to question the so-called BJP model of development in Gujarat, and see what has happened. See that Arvind Kejriwal's car has been attacked. See that our volunteers have been attacked all over the country.
Okay.
So I think we need to start thinking beyond these scenarios. I think we need to start thinking about the future of this country, and we need to start thinking, who is it that's going to potentially take this country beyond the sort of politics that is being practiced today?
Okay, Derek O'Brien, scenarios going forward.
See, Vikram, the third front scenario which you've put up, now in our opinion that is a tired front, and the problem with the tired front is that it has the communists in it. The communists have lost every election in Bengal for the last 3 years. They've been decimated, so they can pick up a few seats in Kerala maybe. So any front or proposed front with the communists in it is a non-starter, is an absolute non-starter. So number two, the Congress, since we walked out of government in October 2012, we've been maintaining that the way the Congress have been handling themselves, our internal assessment, and this is our internal assessment,
Derek,
is that the Congress will get enough seats, enough MPs to fit them into a 3-tier railway compartment, 72 or less. The third option, we propose a federal front, and let me tell you the difference between what is the proposition of the federal front is we believe that the chief ministers of a few... No, not at all. And that is our focus. The chief ministers of states who have put out their developmental agenda for the last 2 years, 3 years, 5 years or beyond, will be rewarded by their constituents, and then when they come to Delhi mid-May, they come with a large clutch of Lok Sabha seats, and that's when you can look for the option to both the Congress and the BJP.
All right, fair enough. D. Raja, let me get you in on that third front, elusive, mythical, somewhat mystical creature which has never actually been able to survive without outside Congress support. So what makes you think this year is going to be different?
Vikram, firstly, the Congress-led UPA 2 government is on its way out. Congress will be defeated.
Okay.
Number two, there is possibility for preventing BJP coming to power, and it is a real possibility. And there is a possibility for non-BJP, non-Congress political parties, forces to come together and provide a credible alternative to both Congress and BJP. And I understand the desperation on the part of my friend Derek O'Brien, because always he resorts to rabid anti-communism when he wants to defend his position.
At least you both are attacking each other verbally right now and not with sticks. So I have to say I'm really relieved. I'm happy to see this. Movement in the right direction.
If third front is a tired front or third front is a myth or fiction, why do you keep on discussing third front? In fact, BJP thought at one point of time, Congress is on its way out, automatically it is BJP which can come to power. Now we are providing a choice before the people, choice to the people, and there is a possibility of non-BJP, non-Congress combined.
Let me get you to put your look into a crystal ball. What are we having?
First of all, I want to say that
72 days from now,
if West Bengal is our model, we're in trouble, it seems to me, right?
But they're not throwing stones at each other today on day
but
one.
I mean,
That's great.
my God, I mean, how long are we going to go on that way? But I mean, I think from an international perspective, the third front idea is probably the one that nobody wants because it's going to be a fairly unstable, it's going to be very unpredictable. I think even with all the problems with Modi, I think most international people would sort of choose that rather than an unstable third front.
When you talk of stability, you must define what is the stability.
Well, stability just in terms of leadership, in terms of what?
In power, it has completed one full term. What is the stability?
Well, anyway.
Is it the economy is stable?
you would have clear leadership if the BJP ends up winning, as I think most people do. And let's just be, I'm going to choose the obvious thing. I think in the last 2 elections in the United States, the polls have been clear from day one, and people who went against the polls proved wrong. I think that's going to be the case here. I think the BJP is going to win.
The polls out here, yeah. So, okay, Ravi Shankar Prasad, let me give you the final thought on this. So, at this moment, Ravi Shankar Prasad with 72 days to go, and these are 72 days that we said could really change the shape of India. Is it at the present moment, it certainly is advantage Mr. Modi, so is it at this present moment his election to lose in a sense or win? He clearly seems to be the front runner.
It is not a question of winning or losing, Vikram, that the people decide. They are going to undertake a very effective and very extensive campaign. Surely I again repeat my word which I began at the last. There is a very profound yearning for change. People want stability. People want proper decision. People want governance. People want delivery on inflation, on unemployment. This whole secular communal card has been tasted and failed. And my third front or a federal front, like a Rasmo Rivaj before every elections come and go. But India is an aspirational India, a different India. Only one last word about Aam Aadmi. They ran away from running Delhi for 49 days. If they want to become a very serious player, in democracy anyone can try, they might at least come beyond this habit of always in a mode of agitation, residence of Arun Jaitley or BJP Daftar or anywhere else, or the Chief Minister sitting on dharna before Rail Bhavan. India is different. Go for a different politics. If people will bless you, good luck. But I don't see any sign.
We could of course keep this debate going, and I tell you we are going to keep this debate going for the next 72 days at any rate. It's going to be, whatever else you may say, it's always an exhilarating experience, an Indian election. It's the greatest show on the road. It's one of the greatest achievements of India, frankly, that 814 million people can potentially go in there, and they will be casting their votes in those 9 phases. And then on the 16th of May, within one day, we'll get to know what the people of India have chosen. So all sorts of scenarios possible, some more probable than the others. Let's see what actually pans out. We'll, of course, bring you every twist in this particular tale. Thanks for watching. Bye for now.